Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing there.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. Welcome in to a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, live here on this Thursday. Shout out to our friends over at Go Chevrolet, Geaux, Chevrolet.com. You can always shop the inventory online. Remember, if you're looking for a truck in this new year, they've got great prices over there on Silverados, on Sierras, and half tons. Shop it online at GoChevrolet.com, where you can get all those selections over at Go. Our phone line is brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group, Real Doctors, Real Solutions. Jacques is going to check in at 8:15 this morning from Orlando. He's over with LSU football, covering all of the build-up to LSU Purdue coming up on Monday. Some big news shaken out of the program yesterday, dealing with Keyshawn Boutte, as it was announced that he was not going to be available for the bowl game. And then it was announced there shortly afterwards. Kayshon announced on his social media that he would be heading to the NFL. We'll talk all about that coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We also have a text message in John Brady to see if he'll be available before we get out of here at 9 a.m. Would love to talk to him about his point of view from last night. We'll start there, of LSU basketball taking care of Arkansas inside of what looked like a very rowdy and raucous Maravich Center. Shout out to our guy Tom Granning over at Go-Mart in Natchez, Highway 61. You can always check our guy out there if you travel in the streets on Highway 61. Stop in and see him at Go-Mart. He's always so kind with the tickets. We passed him on to a client that 8 o'clock tip. I thought I was going to do it.
Kind of wish we would have.
I know. I wish I would have.
There's nothing worse than that feeling of, damn, we could have been there. That place was on tilt. 8 p.m. in Baton Rouge, Coach. Anything can happen.
It looked great. It looked great on television.
Shout out Balcony Bengals. They were all up on it. In every shot.
They're an established brand now. With
TV
basketball.
time, Coach.
Yeah, I mean they the camera finds them rather than them finding the camera now. So
Goat man.
It was great to see the atmosphere last night. I thought it was great to see Matt McMahon's reaction after going through the handshake line with Arkansas after the game, just sprinting towards the student section, pumping his fist into the crowd, really getting and igniting that crowd afterwards that, really kind of helped them along the way throughout the 40 minutes. And it was a heck of a basketball game last night in the Maravich Center if you were there. I watched it on television last night, and LSU got a 60-57 win after 2 ice-cold free throws from Adam Miller at the line as the ace stepped into 2 free throws. You could see it. Stewie said it best this morning. I mean, he was waiting on the basketball. If you were going to try and freeze him, if you were going to try and play head games with him, whatever it was, he was there for all of it. He was just waiting on the ball. He didn't even hit the rim on those 2 free throws. As soon as he let go of the second one, he lets out a money into a full-packed rim that played through the television. I don't know what it sounded like inside the Maravich Center, but I heard it clearly on TV as soon as he let it go. And look, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well throughout the night, but he made plays when he had to make plays. I thought that 3 late in the game that he hit was enormous, and then, of course, the 2 free throws down the stretch. But last night, the player that we got to talk about is Trey Hannibal. Hannibal with 19 points and 2 assists. He also had 6 boards last night, and defensively, he's a problem, man. I mean, he's just a nuisance. He's built a lot like, I know we've talked a lot like about Tack Minor on this broadcast, dealing with Denver Harris and just the relationship that Tack and I have going back to when he was here at LSU. And watching Hannibal play, he reminds me a lot of Tack. I mean, can you imagine how good of a football player Trey Hannibal was at whatever level he played at? I know that he played at South Carolina for 2 years. He played at Murray State for a season last year with Coach McMahon, and now he's transferred in to LSU. So he's played, basketball at the highest level. He looks like one of those guys, though, that had a conversation with his high school football coach and told him he was going to play basketball, and the guy was probably like, "Are you out of your mind?
Are you sure?"
I mean, bro, you're a new age tailback. I mean, the way that he slices and cuts through a basketball floor with the ball, that 4-down set that they ran, I thought that the game was fantastically coached off the LSU sideline, first and foremost, right? Late game situation, they had to call a timeout after some chaos of getting the ball in. McMahon draws up a 4-down set, which he brings Derek Fountain up to set a ball screen for Hannibal. Hannibal goes off the ball screen, gets directly to the rim. This is about after 3 of the last 5 possessions, Hannibal has just done this. LSU's tried to run something, but he's seen an opening and just got to the rack. So Arkansas knows where the ball is going. They know where the ball is trying to get to, and obviously Hannibal has it in his hand, and they want to, try and keep him away from the rim. And when he wanted to get to the rim last night, he was getting to the rack. I was, full disclosure, I was a little hesitant on Trey Hannibal through the non-conference. I didn't know if he was going to be able to play at this level. And last night doesn't mean that he can play like he did, but he definitely answered the question of whether or not he's going to belong in the SEC. Last night versus, one of the upper echelon teams, one of the elite teams in the league, he was doing just about anything that he wanted to do. I was very impressed with the way that obviously he got to the rim, but really the way he's a little out of control. You know, I mean, he can play, and that's how, you know, I mean, it reminds you a little bit of Tack. Tack ran as fast without the ball as he did with the ball. And Hannibal has that same type of trait where he can run at top speed with the basketball in his hand, and, you know, even without it, he's the fastest guy out there. So at times it's a little out of control, but when it's controlled, I mean, it is a weapon that is a tough matchup. And for LSU's sake, it's another guy that you can count on each night. I think Derek Fountain's obviously somebody that, you know, is going to be a marquee player for him each night, somebody that's going to have to score, have to defend, have to play. Obviously, Adam Miller. KJ Jefferson's another one that hit some big shots last night and was able to have an impact on the game. But, I mean, that game from LSU's standpoint, I thought they won it from the, you know, a lot of, you know, what would happen on the floor. But I thought a lot of it was what was going on the sideline. Arkansas they were stumped on that zone early on. I mean, they didn't hit one three-pointer in the first half. They were 0 for 13 from behind the arc in the first half. And, look, that's a bad shooting night, but LSU's defense had a lot to do with that. They made Arkansas very uncomfortable. On the other side, Arkansas did the same thing to LSU. They made them very uncomfortable offensively. I think LSU was 29% they shot it in the first half.
Oh, it was a mud fight. But
oh, man.
Credit
I mean,
to LSU
that's
for
how LSU wanted
it.
to play
Yeah.
it. I mean, that was how LSU was going to win the game. They had to turn it into a rock fight. You know, I mean, they had to
they had to get They had to get dirty because that's what once they recognized that they're not going to call fouls the way that they were, and it turned into almost like a football. They turned into a football game. LSU recognized it and was able to say, "Hey, we're at home. Let's use this to our advantage." And credit to Matt McMahon for. I didn't think the building was going to be like that.
Me either.
I didn't think people were going to show up that way, and for him to be able to get a win in that environment and kind of recognize the moment and be able to see it and like celebrate with the fans. And then you see like just everybody. It feels like LSU, like the basketball team, feels like they've been counted out already, and they have something to prove.
No, I agree. They played very hungry last night. They played with a sense of urgency, and you know that's a very solid, you know, really good opening conference win for LSU. And you know, I mean that was a really good performance from. I thought Matt McMahon was very impressive last night, and you know, watching him in the non-conference, there has been some real highs of seeing his team prepared and very well coached. You wondered about the competition and how it would translate, and look, like we said yesterday, you'll get a really good barometer of where LSU basketball is going into the league by opening up like they do. Did you see what happened in Missouri last night? Or excuse me, did you see what happened in Missouri last night to LSU's next opponent, Kentucky? I mean, the Wildcats got run at Missouri. And I've watched Missouri play a little bit in the pre-conference. I mean, they're good, but I mean, they're not as good as they beat Kentucky last night. Kentucky's a vulnerable team. I mean, think about starting the league off 2-0. Just go with me here. And Kentucky got beat 89-75 last night at Missouri. LSU travels to Lexington, to Rupp Arena on January 3rd. That'll be their next conference game. I mean, look, you can't hide from this schedule, right? I mean, you open up conference and league play with Arkansas. Really nice win last night. You travel to Kentucky. You travel to Texas A&M. You got Florida and Alabama and Auburn, Tennessee over the next couple of weeks. I mean, this is going to be a spot that LSU they're not going to be able to hide from. But Kentucky.
Did you see the Adam Miller tweet last night?
Who's next?
I know who's next.
Yeah.
The list.
Yeah, the list.
That's
right.
Scratching them off.
So LSU's got a great opportunity. That was a great win last night. It was a hell of an atmosphere. It was good to see LSU taking care of business there in early in conference play and really putting themselves in a great position here as the league starts. So Remember, daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. This is the end of the game.
Look at the locker room
the
after.
shot.
Look at this, man. Look at this environment. I fucking love him. My man's a dog.
That was a great win for LSU basketball last night. Shout out to the crew, man. Daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. Rhett Bourgeois and his crew taking care of us as always. Construction team for you if you need them. If you want to build a brand new house going into 2023, if you need some reconstruction done around the house, you need some updates done around the house, get in touch with RMB. RMB-builders.com. RMB-builders.com. Their Instagram is great. Hit them up on Instagram. Make sure and give them a follow there. You'll keep up with all of the content that's coming out. They're putting out great content daily of projects that they have going on, neighborhoods that they're working in, commercial projects that they have working as well. So it's not all just around the house. If you need some stuff done around the office or if you need something done commercially, Rhett Bourgeois and his crew are licensed as well in that aspect. Get in touch with them. RMB-builders.com. RMB-builders.com is where you find them online. And then, obviously, you can check out their Instagram at RMB Builders to keep up with them as well. All right, so LSU football yesterday, Brian Kelly speaking for the first time and had a big piece of news that obviously got people moving in the media and putting news out. As he said yesterday at his press conference, leading into Monday's game versus Purdue for LSU, that LSU wide receiver Keyshawn Boutte would be unavailable for the bowl game. And people started to wonder what's going on here, what's going to happen, what's going on with Kayshon. And I can tell you that, doing some digging, it seems like there is some academics that is a concern. And then I think there's some stuff internally that we may learn about over the next couple of days that may have affected this decision more than we really know. So I don't have the information confirmed. I don't have the information as rock solid as you would like it to go public with, but I can just tell you that there's some things and some stories within this that if it comes out, it'll be interesting to see what the return on it is. But Kayshon not playing, I can tell you with 100% certainty and without any reservation that it had nothing to do with Jaden Daniels coming back.
Oh my God! I wish they would stop saying that.
The people and the crowd that
narrative?
Start this talking point, like,
Shut the fuck up.
what? That is.
Where do you get that from?
Yeah, that's just people thinking out loud. Like, that's what's wrong with the
I
internet.
mean, he don't want to throw the ball, so I mean, the receivers just want to leave.
I guess he's only going to get 300 yards. He ain't going to set the record, so I guess he'll just go to the NFL. It's not the, that's not
Like if that was the case, they all would have left.
And then we had people. This obviously broke last night while we were doing Mic'd Up, and there were people in the chat that were saying, "Well, he never announced he was coming back." And it's like, yes, he did. What? And he's like, read the statement. It's like, why would he put out a statement if it wasn't to say he's coming back to LSU? Like, unfinished business. I won a national championship. You think he's coming back to coach? Like, he's gonna be on the team.
Coming back for the Drew Brees role.
Yes, like just people are unbelievable. Like, y'all need to get outside and touch some grass. Like, get off the computer and just start kind of, matriculating your way through society.
So let me first say this about Kayshon's decision. When Kayshon first announced that he was coming back to school, we were all shocked, right? Like, I remember reading the statement and thinking, say what? Like, this is coming hours, a day after he had just made a play against the top defense in college football that I think everybody was wondering whether or not he still had, right? Like, the last time we saw Kayshon prior to his junior season, he was scoring a touchdown every 4 catches in college football. Seriously, that was the stat. Every 4 catches, he was scoring a touchdown until he got hurt at Kentucky. I mean, think about it. I mean, nearly every time he touched the ball last season, he led the country or led the league in touchdowns for 3 weeks after he was hurt. I mean, like, he didn't play for 3 straight weeks, and he was still on the top of the ledger line of the stat sheet in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, he was doing things that was very abnormal, right, for the game. He was doing things that you looked at and said, wow, he's so much better than everybody else out there that it's almost not even funny. I mean, like, I was in Pasadena. I'm sure a lot of you were, but I mean, he was running through the Rose Bowl UCLA defense as if it was like a video game. Now, that was the only thing that was working for LSU that day, but Kayshon was standout.
It was beautiful.
And then coming back for his junior year, you wondered, was he going to be able to recreate that? Was he going to be able to make those similar type of plays after an offseason of 2 surgeries on an ankle, foot, for a wide receiver, an explosive type player? How's that going to play out? And for 11 games, you saw only small flashes of his ability. And then on the biggest stage for him against a nationally ranked defense that has pros everywhere, he catches an in route and turns it into 60 yards and looks vintage Kayshon. I mean, he looked like a freshman, sophomore type Kayshon where he could just catch it and change the scoreboard no matter where he was. And when he did that, I thought to myself, he's gone. He's just answered every single question that people were curious about and wondering if he still had in the tank. And there he is making the play against that defense on this stage. He's gone. So when it was announced that he was coming back, I was really surprised. I mean, I got to be honest. I was, and I think that even our reaction here, once the announcement was made, would back that up. I mean, we were
stunned. Yeah,
we were really kind of like, wow. I mean, how good is this wide receiver room really going to be when you keep him and you have all of these guys coming up? Well, now 2 weeks later, the discussion has changed in that wide receiver room, and you've taken 2 real high-quality players, now with Kayshon announcing that he's going pro and going to the league, and then ultimately Jack Besh, deciding to transfer within that window and leaving, all of us curious. I wonder if he would have known Boutte going to the league if he would have transferred to TCU. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out one day, but I think
the tweet speaks volumes as to what happened, right?
Sure.
I mean, he led to some speculation around. It felt like Kayshon making the decision to come back led to Jack Besh's announcement to leave. Had it gone the other way, Jack Besh is still a Tiger. Because at the end of the day, when you look at it, nobody really liked LSU more than Jack Besh. We interviewed him on Mic'd Up a week ago, and he still had an LSU pendant in his room. Like, he was at his house in Lafayette, like his home, like his family home.
Yeah.
And he still has like LSU's posters on the wall. Like, so he didn't want to leave, but I feel like the decision when Kay said he's coming back, he's like, there's not enough touches, and the wide receiver room's too good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go make my money at TCU because I want to go to the league as well. So you take your talents to the Horned Frogs and go and get like targets.
Yeah.
That's what it came down to. There's only one ball.
No, I agree. I mean, I think no matter who would have stayed, who would have left, there would have had to have been some shakeup, but because there was too much talent, right? I mean, it still is. It still is.
Oh, it's loaded.
I mean, the room is still absolutely jam-packed with talent, but now there's more opportunities for maybe some younger guys to play. Obviously, some extended roles now. I think, really and truly, I think going into next season, I think Brian Thomas is your number one threat.
You got to go Malik.
No, I know Malik Neighbors is there.
I'm going Malik
But
in terms of just.
I think you've got 2 quality number one type receivers in Thomas and Malik. I really think that both of those guys can be number one wide receivers on any team in the league. And you got them on both of, you've got both of them on one roster. What I'm saying about Brian Thomas is I expect him to make the biggest leap because of the opening now, right? I was a little concerned that Brian Thomas may get clogged up in just a very talented room when you had all of these guys. But now with Kayshon out, with Besh out, it really really does open up, I think, some extended playing time that can turn him in to a number one type receiver every Saturday. I mean, LSU's had 2 number ones many a times, right? I mean, like on campus at the same time on the same team, they have had 2 guys that could be number one targets on any team in the league. Go back to early Doucet and Brandon LaFell. Go back to Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I mean, they have had guys that could be number ones on any team playing on the same field multiple times. And I think that now with the wide receiver room having a little bit of an opportunity and some playing time available for some guys to make a jump, I expect Brian Thomas to make the biggest leap. And then now I think real playing time is on the table for some of these guys like Shelton Sampson coming in, Kyle Parker coming in,
Chris Hilton
from Texas, Chris Hilton coming off of an injury,
Aaron Anderson.
Jalen Brown. I think Aaron Anderson's in your top 3. I think Aaron Anderson would have been in your top 3 if Kayshon was here.
I think Aaron Anderson might take the spot that Kayshon's leaving.
I agree.
Put him in the slot and let him go.
The 3 receivers is going to be.
I don't know how any set leaves Aaron Anderson off the field.
I'd put him at running back too. Just give him the ball.
Yeah, that's somebody you have to look. I think we've said this before. It's somebody you have to look like in that Tyreek Hill type mold, where however you got to get it to him. Like, he's certainly going to be on special teams. He's going to be your punt returner, kick returner. But if you can put him in some sort of 3 wide receiver set where you put him in the slot, put him in motion, pop pass, and just get him.
Put him
going.
everywhere.
Right.
You about to
put him at running back.
Put him everywhere.
That usage rate just went up.
Silent steps, Jordy. Who do you think gets number 7 now? I would think that Malik would probably be a prime candidate for it.
Me and Lloyd talked about this morning. I said I think Malik might just keep 8.
He may.
Malik doesn't seem to care about any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
He's just wants to work.
I've heard this discussion about a lot. I mean,
Perk.
Derek Stingley didn't care about 7 when he was number 24, but I think when you get presented, Jamar Chase always said he wanted to stay Uno, and then he got presented number 7. He's like, I think I might want to do it. I think I might want to do it. So I mean,
same thing with K. He was I'd take it.
It's different when Leonard calls you,
Yeah.
and Tyrann Mathieu calls you, Patrick Peterson calls you and asks you and tells you, hey, bro, we're thinking about you.
You're part of the club.
You want to hop in this group
nah,
chat?
man, I think I'm going to keep 8.
Yeah.
Then you get kicked out the group chat.
Yeah,
And it's like, damn it.
The 8 group is pretty cool too. You got Patrick Queen. You got some dudes in that 8
That's
group.
what happens when you go to LSU, NFL, SU. Yeah. You got guys everywhere. That's why you probably won't see. I would imagine that the obvious choice would be Perk, if you really wanted to. But it seems like he wants to be 40.
They don't make Perk 40s. So,
Yeah. I'll take a Perk 7. Just take 2 of them.
I know. Perk 7.
I mean, it'll look electric. And he would be we talked about this a little bit, but he would be the 3rd sophomore ever, because you had Leonard, who got it as a freshman, Patrick, who kind of started the tradition, and Tyrann got it when he was a sophomore or a junior.
He was a sophomore.
Sophomore. So, I mean, that's the elite club that you're joining. Stingley got it when he was a junior.
Yeah.
Stingley got it when he was a junior.
Yeah, Jamar was a junior, didn't play in it. But that's if you want to flip the tradition, because it feels like people don't even like 7 anymore. I feel like it's cursed. Perk is going to he'd be just fine.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
It's undeniable.
I agree.
I keep seeing people in the chat talk about Kayshon being a 3rd round pick. Y'all obviously don't understand how the draft process works.
Yeah, I don't
Nobody's going to let him drop that far.
If Kayshon can still make that play that he made in the first weekend of December against Georgia's defense, there's a lot of people that are paying attention to Kayshon at a high round pick.
Does he get to go to LSU's pro day?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or is he I didn't know if he was, with the the magnitude of what's
Brian
happening.
Kelly
what's going,
already sent out this tweet. We're good.
Yeah.
So
Because that's what he needs is a pro day and the combine, and you're going to be like, oh, he runs a 4.4, like, or 4.38, and then jumps 40, and you're like, oh, duh, okay, never mind.
Don't
Although,
overthink
yeah,
it.
I don't care about his if it's school.
No.
Like, we ain't playing school
It's
at
the
the
same
NFL.
thing. The same thing with Smith and Jigma. You think they care that he didn't play all year and he's not playing in the playoff?
No,
As
they
long as
do
that
not.
hamstring's ready for the combine.
They do not.
Like
They do not.
They watched the tape from the Rose Bowl last year.
Yeah.
And exactly. There's enough film out on Kayshon where people have seen his ability and saw him make that play against Georgia and say, if that's who he is, we can't
take it.
not pay attention to him. I mean, like, we can't not take him.
You know, like
I
the
mean,
Packers are looking at a wide receiver.
he's not going to tumble to the third round if he can still play like that. There's
There's a
no
chance
way.
he falls out the first.
Yeah, for sure.
But then,
Second round for sure.
But
Like,
then
yeah.
you talk about you get into that second round territory. You get to like the Chiefs or somebody who really knows how
Or
to
like
use
Wake
them.
Forest, yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh shit, he's on the Eagles now.
Sean Payton and the Saints.
Exactly. It's just like
God, because you have a more like mercurial pick
my
for
God,
LSU
dude.
fans. Like this is it. Now they're drafting LSU guys, and it's Kayshon. Like I thought,
thought you don't
you
do
know,
receivers in the first round, Sean.
Yeah, it just feels like LSU fans are kind of done with the Kayshon experience. So if he moved on to the Saints, it would just be funny.
He
like,
would.
yo, he was back. Like,
Look at
damn,
this.
I do like him. I like him
still here.
again. Yeah.
I mean, think
take
about,
him.
think about it. He's not Jamar Chase, but Jamar sits out a year and goes top 5. If Kayshon doesn't play at all, the last film you see on him is his first 2
touchdowns.
years in college football, and you're obviously curious about the injury, but knowing that he can still run like that and take a crossing pattern against Georgia's defense and go 60 to the house is something that not a lot of people in college football can do. I mean, it's just there's too much speed. There's too much talent out there. And for you to be able to make that play, you got to be upper echelon type talent, and that's where he is. It was very confusing on why he was coming back. It really was. I mean, I thought that when he was making the announcement or when it was perceived that he was coming back, it was a little head-scratching. And
It just felt like the year left a bad taste in his mouth, right? Like it feels like I'm better
Yeah.
than like I can be
yeah,
better
but like,
than this.
you know, in the same sense of like, it would be the same thing I would tell Arik Gilbert.
just
You
go.
know? I mean, dude.
Go test.
Go to the league, dog.
Rather than trying to redeem yourself in college football, forget about it. Just go get money. Go get paid for doing all
You
this.
can redeem yourself in those meetings, I promise.
Always. You know what I mean? Like, are you a football player or not? Do you want to be a football player? Then go be a football
Go play
player.
football.
Yeah, go be a professional football player. You can
Smoke
do
as much weed as you want.
You can do well, and you can also have help. You know, I think from Arik Gilbert's standpoint, but from Kayshon's standpoint, it just you don't need to come back to redeem yourself at LSU.
No,
You
but
know,
it's a
like
great
if,
story.
you know, I mean, it's okay that if you struggled 1 out of 3 years when the other 2 you were an All-American.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's I think people here know what he means. And then in the other sense of it, look, I think for what Brian Kelly's trying to build and what Brian Kelly has going on, it might be best time for Kayshon to go to the league. You know, I mean, and that's okay. You know, like we talked about last season where Kayshon needs Brian Kelly and LSU more than Brian Kelly and LSU needed Kayshon. And, you know, while the numbers and the stats may not have worked out like everybody wanted them to, I think the mentality and the spirit of what Kayshon played football with from about the third or fourth game on was something that we didn't expect to see. I mean, his leadership that he showed on the road in Florida, in the locker room, bringing people together and having a message for people, the on-the-field leadership that he showed in times that, hey, he wasn't the primary guy. And then when he had his opportunity in the game in the SEC championship late in the season, he made a play. And I think that's from, you know, both sides. That's how it worked out. And, you know, that was the purpose, I think, of this one season together, is that Brian Kelly wanted to see if he could make, you know, Kayshon be the center of the offense, a guy that had been that in his previous 2 seasons. And Kayshon was looking for a little bit of a, some help with his, maybe his mentality and his leadership ability. And that played out as well. The numbers and the stats didn't, but if he can go to a pro day and he can, test like it looked like he could still run in the first weekend of December, I think he's going to be okay.
And who was it? The coach that came on and said, like, y'all still haven't seen the extra gear that K has.
Coach Antoine.
Yes.
I mean, against Georgia, he didn't even seem like he was running hard. Like, he was just gliding.
Like, he's just in fourth gear, but I got fifth and sixth.
Yeah, I'm just using fourth right now.
So, I think this is going to work out for everybody.
Yeah.
I really do.
It was Lanyap, right?
I think that Kayshon, yeah, it absolutely was. I mean, when he was coming back, you were thinking, wow, this is embarrassing. I mean, this is kind of embarrassing how much talent the wide receiver room has.
I got to the point that I thought it was like everybody was going to run it back after Kay announced he was coming back. I thought it was like, all right, Jaquilin Roy's going to come back. Like the whole, the whole squad was going to run it back for a natty. But obviously that's not what happens. You lose more than you gain. But the way that Brian Kelly was able to operate the transfer portal, the talent you have on the team, and the way that he was able to recruit, LSU is in a good spot.
I like where we're at.
No doubt.
You get Greg Brooks back.
And now, exactly. And now it totally feels like it's a Brian Kelly. Like that, Kayshon feels like kind of the last piece of the Orgeron puzzle.
And I'd love to see one of those young kids play at wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, like Sheldon Sampson.
Oh,
I'd love
man,
to see
just
Sheldon.
throw him in there and see what happens in the red zone. You know what I mean?
Fade.
Yeah, just throw him fade. Throw a wide receiver screen to Jalen Brown, see
Let
what
him
he
play in
does.
the bowl game.
I mean,
hey, let him.
it was, it's just going to be, it'll be interesting to see how that room shakes out now.
Who do you think you see? Because Chris Hilton's still out, so they have to replace, and Dre Jenkins is out, no Jack Besh. Do you think you see an Ibieta? Is he cleared to play?
He has been practicing. I know that. I don't know if he's been cleared to play. And, with the new rule, that would be someone that would be very interesting to see, and someone who we never talk about
Ever.
as far as the talent and the depth in that wide receiver room right now, and somebody that came in, I thought, with a little bit of expectation to see where he might fit in. Now, he had some concussion injuries early on in camp that kept him out of the majority of the season, but from what I have read is that he is back on the practice field and has been going through practice. Whether or not he is cleared to play, I do not know that for certain, but I do believe, he's somebody that
Can go.
he could be a dark, like he could come out of the dark and be like, who the hell? I mean, like
Didn't even know he was on the roster.
You're thinking about all these guys that they have and everybody that, we hadn't even talked about Landon Ibieta. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who could be your punt returner. Somebody that could return kickoffs for you.
I mean, we had him on the show. Obviously, he had a case of the senioritis where he was like, "Oh my God, get
what
me
a
out
beautiful
of
time of life."
Yeah,
he
he's
was
like,
in.
"Get me out of high school." He was doing an interview. He's like, "Shouldn't you be in class?" He's like,
Yeah, I should.
yeah,
Hey,
I had to do this.
Yeah. Calm down over there, guy.
Yeah, but he can pick him up and put him down, and he catches everything. Like he's somebody that I would just like you said, just like to see, because when you're playing a Purdue that has a lot of people that have opted out as well, they lost their head coach. Drew Brees is over there doing something, but it just feels like it's more of an opportunity. You kind of lose the feeling of LSU needs to win the game. It's more of like, let's see what we have for next year.
Yeah.
Edward Haskell says Landon will never play at this level. Wow.
All right.
I'm watching this huddle right now.
Did you ever play at this level, Edward?
Yeah.
Tell me that.
Ward, you're being a little
Phillips
hard on the
Clinton,
Beaver.
Landon Ibieta is a beast.
Thank you.
Coming right back inside of the chat. We appreciate your interaction. Make sure and hit that like button, that share button, that comment button here with us on this Thursday. We'll talk to Jacques coming up here in the 8 o'clock hour as Jacques over in Orlando, and we'll talk to him about some of the coverage and obviously some of the news coming out with Kayshon, how it affects what's going on with that wide receiver room and who he expects to maybe get a little bit more run coming up here with LSU taking the field on Monday versus Purdue. Who is the freshman that you're most interested in seeing with the new rule? So you can see all of them, right? I mean, all of these guys have been redshirted, from Quincy Wiggins to Landon Ibieta.
That's what I was gonna say.
Possibly to Walker Howard is another freshman that's been talked about a little bit. Who is the guy that is wearing a red shirt right now that could play in this game that you would like to see the most?
I got two both on defense though.
Both on
I
defense.
got one on defense for sure.
Terrence Welch
Terrence Welch
at corner and Quincy Wiggins.
I want to see Quincy.
I just want to see what he can do. Like, he's been practicing all season.
Well, with Ali Gay out, Jaquelin Roy out.
Is BJ going to play in the bowl
BJ
game?
Ojulari out.
Everybody's out.
He got to play.
I would think that he has to play.
Yeah.
I just want to
I mean,
see.
Savion's going to play. He's probably going to start where BJ's
Savion will start. Savion is going to be a sneaky,
He's good. Like,
preseason All-SEC ballot type guy next year. Where if you watch the film and watched him play this year,
he's beating people
he's
bad. He's good.
absolutely. I mean, he's ready to bust out.
Right. Wasn't he like kind of raw coming out of school?
Yes, very, very raw, extremely raw.
and
And
now
now
he's
he's 2 years in a weight room, 2 years in a nutrition system. I mean, eating a couple square meals a day,
35
every
looks
day.
good,
I mean, he is one of the classes we went and spoke to at LSU. He was one of the guys in it, and I mean,
Sitting front row, just
he's all bus team too. You know what I mean? Not only can he play on the
6'6",
field,
250.
I mean, you lead him off the bus.
35. Get at the front.
Yeah, yeah.
Lead us out, Savion.
Take Ali Gay's spot right next to Coach.
But yeah, Quincy Wiggins, I think, is definitely on that list. I want to see Walker Howard. I really do. I think that Walker Howard's the most obvious choice
if you're
for that. You had two. You had Terrence Welsh is another guy that I think could add a lot of depth to a room next year that's looking for bodies. And if he can, if it's his time, if he can handle it, he would be somebody that could step up and play a lot of football for LSU. Who'd you had? You said you had one on defense?
Yeah, just Quincy.
Oh, Quincy.
That's who I had. But when you talk about Walker Howard, do you think that Brian Kelly even puts himself in that position for – obviously there's a lot of – I don't know how much they pay attention to the noise around the program from the fan base. But if he puts in a Walker Howard and he plays well, then you're almost starting a quarterback controversy that doesn't necessarily have to exist.
I think that the quarterback competition and that the quarterback that is inevitable. And whether it starts on January 2nd or it starts
in
the first
spring.
week of March
Yes.
or second week of March in spring practice, you know, whenever you want to start that timeline, you can start it. But whenever it's time for it to begin, it's going to happen. And I believe that that's where the coaching staff is. And I'm not saying that they're going to play Walker Howard come Monday or come January 2nd, but I do believe that they want to know what he can do.
In a game setting.
They want to see when live bullets are coming at him, how he reacts. Because I think everything on the practice field, everything from the scout team quarterback, I mean, he was the scout team player of the year.
Yeah,
Right?
He's not playing poorly in practice.
Exactly. So he's doing some things on the practice field that the coaching staff is looking at, and they're saying,
Oh, my God.
I can't wait to find out if he can do this across the street. And if he can do this across the street, we got a good problem on our hands.
It's a good problem, but it's a problem.
But it's an issue because
I guess you can't care about the optics.
you cannot, and I
If
don't think
you're-
they do.
If you're Brian Kelly, you can't just because, like, I'm a huge advocate for Jaden Daniels and what he did for LSU and what he can do next year because when you think about the timeline and how he came in and what everything was a new system, he gets here kind of late. Give him a full offseason with Brian Kelly, Mike Denbrock.
Yes.
Like the wide receivers that he has. And you saw little flashes of it against Georgia whenever he got his mobility almost taken away, that he was able to sit in the pocket and make throws. And I think you saw more of him be able to kind of push the ball down the field his freshman year at Arizona State. So it's in there. I think he was kind of on an accelerated timeline to be, this is the easiest way for us to win, is by me just taking the game in my own hands. Like, this is probably the safest way for me to play, because then you get into the Garrett Nussmeier of, he was probably slinging that thing and turning it over in practice and probably getting just bitched at by Brian Kelly, like, can't turn the ball over, we can't turn the ball over. So Jaden probably developed to be a little bit more gun-shy than he should have been. He's like, I'll just tuck it and run and win you 9 games.
Yeah. And that's what
Get
they
you
had.
to the SEC championship.
And look, we
Beat
talked
Alabama for you.
We talked
Yes.
about this yesterday. That's what they had to have this year.
Yes.
They had to have that this year. Walker Howard could not have done what Jaden Daniels did this season. Garrett Nussmeier could not have done what Jaden
Daniels
Jaden
did.
Daniels did this season. Miles Brennan could not have done what Jaden Daniels did this season. Now, there were stretches where you wanted the ball to be thrown down the field and other guys would have been better suited, it looks like, to do that. But for the majority of the time, what Jaden Daniels got you in and out of offensively this year, he's the only player on the roster that could have done that. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I think that he was the only quarterback for the 2022 team that could have got you 9 wins, and he did it. He will be celebrated for it. But by coming back, I have to believe he understands, and I will never believe that a promise was made to him by coming back saying that you're definitely going to be the starter. I think that they told him, yeah, you'll get the number 1 reps. I mean, when we go in the spring, or when LSU goes into the spring,
you're the returning starter. You're
the incumbent guy. You'll take the first reps. But those reps will be opened up and other guys will be viewed with the number 1 team, with the first offensive line, with the first wide receivers, with the first running back. Walker Howard's going to get reps there. Garrett Nussmeier's going to get reps there. There's a quarterback competition looming in Baton Rouge.
And I think people forget Brian Kelly has benched his starter that came back to school before. So
we've had the conversation about, somebody made a promise to somebody whenever you had Miles Brennan come in. It's like, that man wouldn't promise anything.
Nothing.
He's like, here's an opportunity to play. You want to stay at LSU?
Come compete.
You'll come compete. And so there's no real merit to saying, he's been promised the job. Like, no matter what you do, you're the starter.
And DeMarcus Scott says, look, it's like Nuss throws one good touchdown against Georgia and all of a sudden he deserves a start. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying because of what I saw in Atlanta at the SEC championship game that the quarterback competition is open at all. I think that the quarterback competition is open because it's a brand new team that LSU is going to put on the field in 2023. And their strengths and their weaknesses are going to be different than what they were this season. And Jaden Daniels might be the best quarterback for the 2023 team. He just might well be. But I think that it's going to be opened up, and he's going to have to prove it. And I don't think that there's a favorite. I don't think that there's a guy that, or at least from the outside, that you think has most likely to win the job. But if I was betting on one, look, I bet on Garrett Nussmeier last year. I was wrong. When the quarterback competition was in the similar position that it is now. 3 guys coming in with different skill sets that can all win games at this level. I'm confident that Jaden Daniels, you've seen it, Garrett Nussmeier can, and Walker Howard, once developed and trusted by the coaching staff, can win games at an SEC level. So who gives you the best chance to win every single Saturday is going to have to prove that starting on Monday versus Purdue or once spring gets here. And I think there's a lot of curiosity around what certain players can do in live situations, most notably Walker Howard. It would not surprise me at all if he got some run, if he was to play, and gave LSU the opportunity from a coaching staff standpoint to evaluate exactly what they have going into the spring. So it's going to be awesome.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but Jaden probably can do we even understand how the portal works? People say you have a one-time move, and I see JT Daniels go to 4 different schools in 4 years with no recompense. There's no sitting out. So I'd imagine Jaden Daniels can either get to the point in school where he can do a graduate transfer because he's going into his senior year, right? So he'll be able to either use that path, or the portal is the portal, and there's no sitting out. Like, I haven't seen a player that had to insert his name into the portal for a second time and then was punished for it.
I just don't see where the NCAA has any ground to enforce any discipline on anyone. Well, you know what I mean? Like, I think that
you're not helping the kid.
Whoever's writing the waivers up there is, the highest paid employee.
Yeah.
They're the most busy. You know what I mean? Like, whatever comes across your desk, waive it.
Yeah, because, do you remember when, like, the people were asking for a waiver to transfer before the portal, it was almost impossible to get one. They had the offensive lineman that his dad was like in the hospital and dying. His grandma. And he was trying to move back home, and they're like, no, you have to sit out a year. And that's when it all came to heads like, bro, what are y'all doing?
Right.
Like, you're not helping the kid. And if you're Jaden Daniels or if you're in the NCAA, if that's who's in charge of this, because I don't know who it is, but if you say he can't transfer and he is not the starter at LSU, you ruined his career. He has to be able to play to be able to get to the NFL. He can't sit on the bench at LSU. So if he loses his job or he's not decided as the starter after the spring, he's going to go play somewhere else, and somebody's going to take him, and he'll do exactly what he did for LSU.
You talking about Jaden?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he leaves.
He's not going to sit the bench.
I don't. He might put himself into a position where
they use both.
That's
what I thought they were going to do.
The timeline's going to run up on two of them where they can't leave.
Right.
One of them is going to be Miles Brennan, right? Where he knew in spring.
Right.
He looked around and he said, "Coach,
what am I doing out here?
Do I have a shot?"
Am I going to win the job?
Credit the staff for shooting him straight and saying, look, man, this is where we are. This is where it is. Here's what your options are. And for Miles Brennan just to say, you know what, man, I'm done with it. I'm not fighting this fight anymore. And I don't think that anybody that's in this three-man race with Nussmeier, Walker Howard, or Daniels is, contemplating quitting football. I just think that for two of them, it's going to be a very fierce competition. It's going to be down to maybe the week of the opener. But for one of the guys in spring, it's going to be obvious that, like, okay, I see that y'all favor these two. I'm going to leave. And I think that's what the LSU quarterback room competition is going to look like for as long as they keep recruiting like this. For as long as you keep getting Colin Hurley and Ricky Collins and adding them to the room that already features Walker Howard, Jaden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier, you're never going to have a spring. You're never going to have a competition that doesn't feature a discussion where somebody's leaving. And they may get to a point where maybe two of them leave. Maybe two of them see the writing on the wall and say, you know what? That's the guy. But what LSU is trying to prevent, and I thought they played it beautifully this season, is knowing and accounting for a loss that you're going to lose one just about every year, but you better keep your depth intact to where if you lose one in the season, you don't fall off the rails.
Right. You don't have to start a Ricky Collins as a true freshman in the week 4, and you're just like, this isn't
gonna go well.
Right. This is not, and it's not a Ricky's fault, but you shouldn't have to play.
Freshman.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to play a true freshman.
No.
But it feels like, and if this is just how I would look at it, if you're LSU, you almost do everything you can to keep Walker Howard in the boat. Like,
yes.
If whatever that requires, that's what you kind of have to do.
Look, I've talked to enough people around the program.
He's too good.
I know enough people that are invested in the program. And, we know people around Walker Howard. He's not going anywhere. He doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to leave LSU. This is a promise that he made to his mother that is no longer alive, who was a standout athlete at LSU. His dad was a quarterback at LSU. That stuff means something to him personally. He's not just going to give up the first time that there's a little bit of adversity. I'm not saying that I know for certain that Walker Howard's going to finish his career at LSU, but I do know right now, as we speak, he's not leaving, and he doesn't want to leave. And I think that there's a lot of people within that program that believe he's the best quarterback on the team. And everybody's about to find out. Really. Here we are. Now we're in it. And it's time. It's time to either earn it or get beat out. And we're about to see it. City Cafe brings you the Jordy Culotta Show every single day. Our friends over at City Cafe. Go see Squeaky Miranda, Cody Miranda, and the entire crew over at City Cafe, where they're located at O'Neill and George O'Neill, and they've been in business for over 100 years. CityCafeBR.net is where you can find the menu and all of the great selections. Check them out online at CityCafeBR.net. As we said, over 100 years. They got daily lunch specials. They got brunch specials every Sunday that you can check out. All of it is online at citycafebr.net. I'm sure that was a great celebration over at City Cafe last night with the win for Matt McMahon and LSU basketball as the Tigers take care of business versus Arkansas as LSU now 1-0 in conference play over a top 10 team. And last night the Maravich Center was on springs. It was bouncing, man. It was a hell of a home court advantage, it looked like, through the television set as Arkansas was rattled a little bit early. That place was loud during some stretches defensively. And look, I thought that was the turning and deciding factor for LSU was their defense. They turned that thing into a rock fight for Arkansas early on. They were 0 for 13 was Arkansas behind the line in the first half. They couldn't buy a bucket. And while, they may write it off as a bad shooting night, and it may well have been, LSU's defense had a lot to do with it. They were annoying and aggravating them and, boxing out and, putting people on the ground. I mean, they were just playing very good basketball. I thought Matt McMahon and his crew really deserved a game ball for their opening conference win at LSU for the way that they schemed. Look, Eric Musselman got out-coached, and I respect the hell out of Musselman. I think that he is a really good basketball coach. Now, his antics and the way that he
shows off his body.
He does on the sidelines and his body language and all that stuff.
He was losing it last night.
I mean, is to be debated. But one thing I don't think that is debatable on whether or not is the dude knows the game. He can coach it. His teams are always good. They're always prepared. And for as good as LSU played, I thought that Arkansas had a really good scheme against LSU as well. I mean, it was a good coaching matchup with really good players on the floor. It was a fun basketball game to watch.
19 in the first half.
Yeah. I mean,
that's good basketball.
I mean, even the final. 60-57. That's a high school basketball game. I mean, that's a 3A high school basketball game. I mean,
1A coach.
Yeah, we fouling out.
Exactly. I mean, but that was a well-coached, well-defended, well-executed game. I know a lot of people were arguing about the referees. You're never going to have a game where you really compliment the referees.
It did feel like it was a little bit on, like they were kind of got swept up in the game a little bit. Like then they were just like, you know what, let's let them play because this place, LSU and their fan base and how they treat not only umpires or referees or officials.
But look.
It's raucous.
Let me tell you, man.
They don't give a shit about you.
I have never been on the whistle for that
right
type of game at that level, but I have been on the whistle for some intense basketball games in some gyms where you feel like you're a marked man.
You're not gonna blow a whistle, Culotta.
And it is hard to do what they did in the last 30 seconds of that game, where the block that Arkansas pinned at LSU in the last minute were a no call, and then Arkansas comes right back down and LSU swats at the ball and knocks it off of Arkansas out of bounds. 2 no whistles. In that moment, I looked at Jay. I thought to myself, I said to us, that's tough not to blow. Sometimes just your natural reaction of watching it and seeing that happen, you blow the whistle and kind of think to yourself, shit, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But I mean, in that moment and having that control of the game to allow that to play out, in my opinion, is good officiating.
I was surprised they didn't call that, too.
I agree. I was surprised there was not a whistle there, but it was both sides.
Yeah.
Right? So if LSU's complaining, Arkansas is too, or LSU and Arkansas are looking at each other and saying, the players figured it out. You know what I mean? Like, they let the players decide and determine who was going to win this thing. Because that was a hell of a defensive play that Arkansas made on the block, but LSU was able to regroup, get back, turn around on defense, and make another play for themselves and get the ball back. And that was the play that set up. That's when McMahon had to call the timeout, and they throw the ball in with Adam Miller's back turned to the ball.
It was.
I mean, like, the ball is bouncing, and Miller's running that way. He turns around and catches it like in his gut.
Musselman wanted a foul on that one, too. Because
Adam Miller
cut, dude falls, the dude pulls him down almost.
Right.
And then he turns around, the ball was right there.
And look, back-to-back timeouts.
You could, yeah, no.
That's tough.
No, he was
Getting tight in here.
and you can see him drawing on the
Oh
leg.
my
like,
God! Well, I mean,
take the
and
ball
then
right
even in the
here.
last 3 minutes, they had an inbounds under their goal in front of their bench out of a timeout where they threw away. And for the first time ever, like McMahon turns at the bench, and it looks like he MFs and like slaps at an open chair. Like I didn't think he had it in him. You know what I mean? Because he's very
laid back.
He's very arms crossed, kind of like, hey, fellas, we know what to do. They're a well-coached team. LSU is a very well-coached team. And you can see that he is the reason for that. I mean, he's got full control from the sideline of what's happening on the floor. He can change defenses as they're getting back. He calls sets. I thought the 4-down play that we highlighted with Hannibal out of the timeout was a beautifully executed play. It was obviously a pick and pop with Fountain, but Hannibal –
and a great,
just
great
the
bluff screen
underneath.
to give
He screened
the drop
himself.
spin.
He screened the rim with the defense. I mean, it was LSU's well coached. You know, I mean, there's one thing that you cannot, you can't argue through 12 games of Matt McMahon is that
Did we read
they're gonna be
McMahon
prepared.
wrong in terms of the emotion? Like we all thought very stoic. Like even in his interviews here, you don't get the same type of, you know, you get a very, I guess, professional coach is the way to put it. But I mean, seeing him at the game last night, this man is a college basketball coach.
Maybe he just has that like serial killer mentality. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
when
gonna
it
be
gets
real
tight.
quiet.
Maybe, but I
Just
mean,
kill
it
you.
was great to see the emotion after the game.
Yes.
I mean, like him and look, I think that there has to be, and I don't know this for certain. I know Matt McMahon a little bit. We've talked. Our sons are close and play basketball together, which is pretty cool. Which is cool to see. And you can tell that Lil J and Mason have kind of like a respect for one another when they compete against each other. That's pretty cool to see them kind of coming up together. And, you know, just talking to McMahon a little bit, I've never sensed it. I don't believe it to be true because, you know, McMahon, one thing's for certain when you talk to him, he's very confident in his knowledge of the game. You know, like he'll go whiteboard, you know, like let's draw it up all day, it seems like, and we'll go with anyone. But when you step into Baton Rouge following the personality that Will Wade and LSU basketball has been under, and look, I know this as much as anyone out there, right? I was promoting that personality and trying to, you know, really sell that message to everybody who would listen. There has to be a little bit of, you know, of when can I get my footing underneath me and let it, you know, really start to feel like my program? And I thought the reaction last night was a little bit of that. I don't know that for sure. You know what I mean? But just a little bit of a, hey, man, that was a great win. You know, like let's celebrate that. And I really felt great for him. I felt great for his program, for his coaches, for all the players. And, you know, look, the fan base, really and truly, the LSU fan base deserves a ton of applause, a standing ovation, just a lot of, you know, a lot of respect for the way that they came out and supported that team on the opening night of conference play for an 8 o'clock tip-off. Look, I'm in the crowd of looking for an excuse to get out of going to something like that, right? I mean, an 8 o'clock tip, traffic, it's raining. Well, I'm not going, right? And I think a lot of us have kind of been in that mentality for LSU basketball for a long time, even with Wade. And Wade got people out, but there were still some games where you thought it would have been sold out, but it wasn't. Last night, I did not think it would have been sold out. I would have definitely bet against it being sold out. That thing was loud. It looked full on television. It felt like it was engaged the entire time. The crowd was on their feet. There were, you know, one thing about LSU basketball fans is it's a very knowledgeable fan base. They know the game. They know what good basketball looks like. They know when timeouts are supposed to be called. They know when things are looking wonky. It's a really cool place to watch a game because the crowd overwhelmingly really knows what's supposed to be happening. And so I thought that last night was a hell of a home court advantage for LSU basketball and McMahon. And for him to see that on opening night of the league after following up someone who had so much love and support from the locals. right? I think one thing that we can't argue is that Wade really had the backing of Baton Rouge and LSU basketball fans. For the crowd to support the program like they did last night, I think had to probably be a pretty cool feeling for McMahon. Mm-hmm. And I would ask him that if the next time he was here, if we can't get too far away from this game. I don't want to go back and ask him about his first SEC win after 4 games, but if he could maybe join us tomorrow or here sometime soon, I would love to ask him that of what did it mean by stepping out in pregame and seeing nearly 10,000 people there. I mean, that had to be like, oh wow, this is cool. Like this is gonna be cool tonight. And I think that's what a little bit of that emotion during the game was, and then definitely afterwards of going into the balcony bingle section and pumping his fist and shaking hands and high-fiving, and it was cool. That's a great win
because he probably did feel a little bit like almost like a stepdad.
Oh sure.
So
and look, I don't think
that, everybody showed up to my birthday party.
I don't think that last night relieved it.
No.
You're still probably. I mean, Wade had such a grip.
Oh, I mean,
on the town and
still got me.
Yeah, he still does. I mean, he still has a great presence here, but they have a great relationship.
Right.
I think people that are curious about that and may wonder about that. McMahon and Wade are really cool. Like they're real cool and personable and no hard feelings, and there's there's none of that stuff. I don't know if I've told it here, but I will again if I haven't. I mean, Wade called McMahon within the first 24 hours of him getting the job and told him kind of gave him the lay of the land. Here's a list of people you should go see. Here's a list of people you shouldn't go see. Here's some things that you should try and continue to do what we were trying to work towards, or this is something that we were doing that just really wasn't working. Things from an administration standpoint, things from a booster standpoint. I mean, Wade has really tried to help out McMahon as much as he can without trying to overstep. Look at this guy.
He's struggling.
All right, we're going to Orlando when we come back next. JD.
Oh, he's got a coffee.
All right.
No.
We'll be back right after this. Shout out to our friends over at Dead Soxy. Great promotions right now at deadsoxy.com. Check them out online as daily they bring you the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll be back with Jacques Doucet from Orlando, our partner over at WAFB, giving us a little bit of a pregame between LSU and Purdue. Next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
What a backdrop.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
Don't let the name fool you. Men's Total Health has offerings for the ladies, too. Guys, is your wife or partner suffering from urinary incontinence, low sexual desire, or pain during sex? Then the O-Shot might be for her. Don't let it scare you. It's totally natural. It's PRP. And Mike Roach and the crew at Men's Total Health will make you as comfortable as you can be. Contact me for more information, Katie at jordyculotta.com, and I'm happy to tell you everything that Men's Total Health has to offer for the ladies.
Recall the first time you saw Brian Kelly and the LSU football team going out against Florida State. This LSU basketball team is going to look significantly different here in a couple of weeks, in a couple of games. I mean, one thing that I could take away last night that was immediate was that they never played together. Like, this group has not played together for a long time. You can see it. I mean, it was kind of like cutting with your eyes, kind of like, I'm going here, like letting them know. I mean, when you play basketball with someone, and I'm not, we've all been a part of basketball, or you know basketball. If you're listening to the show, you know sports, but you understand that you got to, chemistry's big in basketball. You have to have almost those, unspoken language with one another. My eyeballs can tell you where I'm going. A shoulder shrug here tells you I want a screen on this side. Hand signals here mean that I'm going to, step over the screen here, or I'm going to need some help on this side. Just that type of work only comes with reps, and you can practice it and drill it only so much to where you got to get on the floor and you got to play against other teams, other uniforms, other competition than in practice. And I think that you see that LSU's got some, they have some guys. They got some guys that you can build around. You don't learn a lot last night as far as, other than, names, numbers, faces, and roles. But, I think that you'll see those guys really improve. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Appreciate our partnership over at WAFB. Remember, if you're looking for our content over at WAFB.com, WAFB.com/Jordy. But as always, if you are looking to keep up with weather alerts, traffic alerts, download the WAFB app to your smart device, your smartphone, to your television. You can watch the Jordy Culotta Show over at WAFB Plus if you download that app. And as always, you can see Jacques Doucet, our favorite man, of course, sits on the sports desk over there. He's in Orlando covering it for WAFB. He has posted up, it looks like in a parking lot this morning. JD, where are you, buddy?
Where are you, JD?
Hey, look, you put in so much work in that studio to make it look the way it looks. I could at least walk across the street and try to create some sort of studio.
I love that.
Two. So I'm like in a little Perkins Road deal. I'm the homeless guy talking to himself by himself here out.
Yeah, right.
He's gonna get arrested.
Yeah, heads up. Hopefully nobody throws something at you while we're live here. All right, Jacques. So a lot of news here. Everybody buzzing about LSU basketball last night. Get a huge conference win, but obviously you're over in Orlando with the football team. And Brian Kelly spoke for the first time yesterday. He announced that Kayshon was not going to be available for the bowl game. There minutes after Kayshon tweeted and said, "You know what? I'm going pro. I'm not coming back." What's been kind of the shakeout over there since then?
Well, we were here when the team arrived, so we got the team arriving. That was Tuesday night, right? That was the 27th. And then kind of started hearing rumors that Kayshon had not made the trip. Asked Michael Bonnet about that the following morning, and then it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. LSU put out the statement saying that he did not make the trip. He was not going to play in the bowl game, but he was enrolled for the spring semester. So that kind of stayed on track with him following up December the 5th when he said he was going to return for his senior season. And then I kind of feel bad, Jordy, for the LSU arts team. They put together that beautiful, thing that he was coming back. And then last night, his tweet that he's going pro is like he was leaning up against the wall or something, It's just like sitting that out. So, Coach Kelly hasn't spoke to the media in terms of a press conference yet. And I don't think he does that until Sunday, the day before the game.
Oh, wow.
The team has an outing tonight at Top Golf that we are allowed to go to. We weren't allowed to go to anything yesterday. And then on Friday, they've got this event where they help out some less fortunate kids with the two teams come together. It's a real cool event. I've seen it over the years, like in 2016 and 17 with Louisville and Notre Dame. And then I think it's Saturday. You can talk to the coordinators for both teams. I'm hoping they bring Drew Brees, even though he's not a coordinator, and some players. And then Sunday is the day before the game in which you get the 2 head coaches. So that's a little layout of what we get to do here. But, man, it's a great it's a great bowl game if you're not going to be in the playoff. I mean, I think the temperature on game day is going to be a high of 81, 5% chance of rain, sunny. It's going to be great.
Have you learned anything about Purdue? Do you know the challenge that LSU has here? I mean, other than Breeze being a coach and them losing just about everybody who is meaningful to their team, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, head coach?
Not really, Jordy. That's the one thing I was hoping you were not going to ask me about.
Second question. Break down the Boilermakers, JD.
They've lost their quarterback. They've lost their 1,400-yard receiver. They've lost their tight end, who was really good. I guess the question is for LSU is with Jaquelin Roy not playing, Ali Gay not playing, Ojolari obviously not playing, Mekhi Wingo really the only guy that's played a whole lot of snaps there coming back on the defensive line. Can LSU stop the run? I guess that's my big question. Is Purdue's running game going to try to chew up the clock, keep LSU's offense off the field, and can LSU stop the run? I guess that's my big question going into the game. And I know some people wrote that LSU's wide receiving core is thin. I don't really prescribe to that. As long as you got Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Mason Taylor there at tight end. John Emery's proven to be a nice receiver out of the backfield. So I like LSU's offensive weapons, I think, going into the game.
I agree. There's a rule in place now where you can keep your eligibility if you're a redshirt freshman by playing in the bowl game, and there's a couple of guys that are curious in situations here. A guy like Walker Howard, but then another one's like Quincy Wiggins on the defensive line. As you mentioned, that defensive line being a little low in depth. Have you heard anyone that's young here that could make an impact or get an opportunity with this rule in play?
Well, I think that'd be the number one, Quincy Wiggins, and certainly covering him locally. I mean, I always joke about Quincy. When I was in high school, I was wearing sweatpants under my jeans and like 3 shirts to try to look like I weighed 150 pounds. And you look at a guy like Quincy Wiggins, his senior year at Madison Prep, he's like 6'5", 265. Looks like he can pick you up by the head and just, put you, just
like
throw you around.
He could.
Yeah. Physical freak, right? And just green. Like, just had played the game of football as a basketball player. And so I'm interested to see if he could get some snaps. And because I think I asked Coach Kelly about him in one of those press conferences late in the regular season, and he said that he'd made a tremendous amount of improvement in that one in a month. And so I'd like to see him get out there and play. And certainly this would have been a nice rule a year ago. I love John Trey Kirkland. Glad he got to play in a bowl game and throw 3 touchdowns. But it'd been nice, for Garrett Nussmeier to maybe keep LSU in the game a little bit a year ago and not burn his red shirt. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's a good opportunity for LSU to close the year out right, get a win, finish with 10 wins, and transition into next year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, JD, what's the significance of this game? Because I think overarchingly, the 2022 season at LSU will always be looked at as a success, right? But this weekend in a vacuum, how do you view this for this particular team and program?
Well, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but LSU hasn't really looked the same since they beat Alabama with the 2-point conversion, 32-31. I mean, they wanted Arkansas to their credit, and good teams have to find a way to win. That was a cold day, and the offense was in the deep freeze all day. And good thing Harold Perkins was wearing LSU colors that day, because he almost single-handedly won the game for LSU, 13-10. But you get pushed around at Texas A&M. And then the Georgia game and the SEC championship, you really move the ball all day, but they kind of bully you. They score 50 points. And so you don't want people saying that your success was flukish or you got lucky or this and that. I think if you come out and you really win the game and win the game convincingly, you don't want 3 red L's on your schedule going into the offseason. You want a green W to close things out here. And some people don't care about this stuff. I've always cared about it. When I flip through the LSU media guide, I always look where the teams finish in the final rankings that year. And LSU winning or losing this game is probably a difference in 6 or 7 spots, dropping 3 or 4 spots or moving up 3 or 4 spots in the final AP. So that means something to somebody like me. The Fiesta Bowl that year, LSU won it, moved it to the top 10 and had 10 wins. And Jordy, you can talk about this too. I mean, what does it mean? So, sometimes like at the end of 2008, for example, that was the the year after LSU won the national championship, and that was a bad season, 7-5.
Yeah.
But they throttled Georgia Tech in the Peach Bowl. They had just hired John Chavis. They got excited about that, and that was a nice ending to the year. We thought Jordan Jefferson was going to be a great quarterback the way he played in that game. But then you look at the Texas Bowl. I mean, LSU ran all over Texas Tech in the Texas Bowl that year. Leonard Fournette looked like a man amongst boys. But did that really mean anything when you played Wisconsin in the season opener in Green Bay? No. It might have hurt LSU because Les Miles thought he could do the same thing against Wisconsin they did against Texas Tech. So it's debatable, but I think it's important in this case to not your last win. You don't want your last win to be against Arkansas and Fayetteville. You need something to finish out with.
You get any idea on Daniels, on his health, on his availability? Do you get an idea of how they may use the quarterback position during this game?
Well, all I can say is that I saw the video LSU posted on Twitter yesterday, and he was dropping back and throwing, and they had a picture of him throwing the ball, and I would just have to go along with what Coach Kelly said, that he's going to be 100% for the game. It's never been a high ankle sprain, so hopefully it's not a problem. I mean, certainly, when I was at Texas A&M that day and he went down twice, it looked like he was in a ton of pain, and it's like, man, what's going on? But I guess he's going to be 100%. That's what I'm thinking, and certainly LSU feels a lot better about the position if Nussmeier has to go in. But my feeling is he's going to be fine.
Jacques, enjoy the rest of the weekend and the trip, and we will see you when you get back from covering the game, man. Thanks for the time this morning. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Lloyd, Stewie.
Happy New Year, Jacques.
Katie's not there today?
No, she's basketball game. Sophie's got a basketball game. She's in a tournament.
So now Florida has Palm Trees, Corey Raymond, and Jacques Doucet.
We can name the better three.
Let me say this real quick, man. When you come here, it's like a melting pot of all different cultures because they're coming to Disneyland. I had a young lady behind me this morning sound like Adele. I just want to listen to her talk the whole time. It's like, Beyonce, your album was monumental.
That was great.
Later, buddy. Send Darren our best.
Happy New Year, guys. Thank you.
New Year.
Happy
there
New
he
Year.
is. JD.
Thanks for
checking
joining
in
us
from
yesterday,
Orlando.
too, man.
The best. He's helping us out as we're away over the next couple of days, too, as JD will be here. Don't forget our friends over at Katie's Restaurant. They're in New Orleans. Katie's in Mid-City. If you're traveling in for the games this weekend, Sugar Bowl happening. I saw where Eli Holstein already working out with the Crimson Tide. You see that? As he's taking scout team reps there with Alabama.
Did you see Saban stretching on the field? Yeah. I mean, if anybody got it better, it's impossible to hate him.
I know.
He's just meandering around.
And he would give a couple.
Remember over at Katie's, they've got great choices over there, man. Whether it is all of the menu selections that they have to choose from, you can go on at katie'sinmidcity.com. I love the swamp fries as an appetizer. They get great crab cakes, of course, over there. We always tell you about the St. Louis style pizza that they offer with the thin crust over at Katie's in Mid-City. Go check them out. They are located on Iberville Street right there in Mid-City, and then their sister restaurant, Francesca's, which is located downtown. It's a great sandwich deli that you can stop in. So a couple of selections for you in the city over with Katie's in Mid-City and Francesca's. Katie's is located at 3701 Iberville Street right there in the heart of Mid-City. Been around since 1984. It's a staple. I tell you all the time, man, if you go in there today for lunch, if you go in there today for happy hour or a drink or go in for dinner tonight, it's going to be packed. It's going to be packed with New Orleanians, with people from the neighborhood, and it'll give you a great feel of just a local dive restaurant bar with great personality, good people, and Scott Craig, the owner over there, is one of our great friends and great supporters, and we'll always be thankful for him and what he's done for us and helping us promote our show down in New Orleans. He does a great job for us, and we'll always be grateful for him. katie'sinmidcity.com is where you find him online, katie'sinmidcity.com. We'll take a break and be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet.
Crab cakes and football. That's what Katie's does.
Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz. I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mikey Matuk from Mic'd Up. If you haven't already liked or subscribed to our show, we're live every Monday, Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. from our studio, and every Friday from 4:30 to 6 from Uncle Earl's. Come hang out with the boys, me, Jay Mitch, Jackie Boy, Lloyd. Lloyd has his shenanigans up in the corner. Come hang out with us again. Like and subscribe. We're live Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Fridays from Uncle Earl's from 4:30 to 6. Come hang out with us. We appreciate all the love. See you on the show.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet, as we are live here on this Thursday morning. Appreciate Jacques for stopping by from over in Orlando as LSU gets ready for
Do you think he's a
Capital One
Disney guy? Do you think he
Oh.
goes?
I think so.
I could see Jacques being a Disney
Yeah, I
guy.
could see
or
Jacques
like
too.
Universal Harry Potter land guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's just eating cotton candy
Like,
and,
got a wand.
and waiting in line. Jacques got the fast pass already.
Oh, for sure.
We're
Like,
going to Orlando.
Jacques
I've been
ain't
looking
waiting
at
in the lines.
I've been looking at the landscape, getting the fast pass ready. Quincy Wiggins in the teacups.
Big SeaWorld guy Jacques is, I feel
No
like.
doubt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to go see Shamu.
Yeah.
Waterworld guy.
Right.
That sad whale.
Sitting in the wet section.
I can splash zone. DeQuano, don't let the camera get wet.
Peter, when is Jordy Culotta going to finally address the elephant in the wide receiver room? Is that
Did we
What
have you
is
listened
it?
to the show?
Is that Aaron Anderson?
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, Alabama.
I mean, but we talked about the Kayshon situation. If you missed it, check it out. As first hour always, or excuse me, our show always on demand, brought to you by RMB Builders. But make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. You can check out the Jordy Culotta Show podcast as it is live in there waiting for you to click on it. It'll take the audio from the show and you can listen to it and take it with you wherever you want to go. Big one for the Pelicans last night as well, too, as, man, it's been fun to watch Zion play.
When he dropped 43?
119, 118 last night. He goes for a career-high 43.
Seeing him get that steal at the end and just slam that
He's
thing.
playing with a lot of emotion.
Yeah,
He's playing with a lot of anger. He's playing with a lot of looks like he's heard everybody the last couple of years.
He told y'all he was on that biggie ready to die.
Mm-hmm. He is back and looking really good. D'Angelo Russell, I thought he was asked after the game last night, and D'Angelo Russell had 27 points for Minnesota last night. He was asked what it's like to defend Zion. I don't know if you can find this, Stu, if we can pull it up, but you can just sense the frustration.
He's hurt.
When he called him a football player, he's like, he
You know,
ain't playing basketball,
I mean,
he's playing football.
He's like laid back. He's all kind of like aggravated, you know. And he's like, well, I mean, if he's allowed to play football out there and everybody else is playing basketball, then I mean, you know, it's just unfair. But what it tells you is that's a professional basketball player pretty much saying that the competition, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing that you can do, because while it seems like he's playing football and everybody else is playing basketball, that's just what it is. That's the mismatch. He's so physically imposing and so much more physically intimidating than other people in that league. Not everybody, because I watched Anthony Edwards last night, watching the Minnesota Timberwolves a little bit, and he's got that quality too, where if he wants to get to the rim, he can get to the rim.
Great actor too.
But Zion is.
He is.
He
Did
is.
you see him?
Yeah.
He's good.
He is.
It was the Dickie fit, coach.
He's playing as his best as a pro. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I mean that's a very obvious statement, and just the fact that he's on the floor. But he scored the final 14 points of the game last night. He had 43 overall, and he is the best player on the team right now. I mean, this is everything that I think we all kind of imagined when he was being drafted in the first couple of years here, and then you may have lost the sense that it would ever get here, right? Like that he would ever be this player, that whether it was health or whether or not he was going to do it in New Orleans because of the relationship that it seemingly he had with the front office, to where it is now is, it's everything that I think we all were hoping for when New Orleans' name came across the lottery and he was sitting there as the number one pick. I mean, this is now kind of Zion growing in, and it took him a little longer than we all probably would have wanted, but I mean,
worth it.
Now we're here, and it's obvious. Yeah,
I mean, it's 19 when he got in the league.
It is definitely worth it seeing him.
Just frustrated.
Yeah.
You know you're mad when you're playing with the hair, coach. It's
just listening.
Turnover. Were you surprised that Zion jumped past?
Yeah, I mean, he just ran through my guy, took the ball.
Sorry
He's
about
playing
it.
football. We playing basketball. We can't touch him or guard him, so good for him.
I mean, you can.
It is.
You can
He's
sense
hurt.
it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pro basketball player. I mean, he's
defeated.
Just there's nothing we can do. I don't know what else we can do.
Unless you got Mo Wagner out there.
Mo got caught last night.
When Zion was pulling up to the game like this Pels by 100.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got he's
got the love.
I mean, he looks like he's going to Christmas.
Mardi Gras.
Yeah, like look, all my people here. What's up? How we doing? He got the prison fit.
Big Z. Look how big he is.
Good Lord. I mean, he's owning it now.
Lord,
like he's finding himself. He's finding his swag, because you didn't really see him outside of Duke, right? Like you don't feel like his personality at all.
No.
And now to see him in New Orleans, he's becoming New Orleans. Like he's embracing the city. But Better than that, than the Malice in the Palace Part 2 that we got last night.
Oh God!
I mean, that man just took one right to the back of the head.
Yeah, he
I didn't
did.
know Mo Wagner was so dirty.
I didn't either.
Yeah, but this is the second time he's got caught. Giannis caught him last year with a headbutt and tried to knock him out. So clearly he's pissing some people. What is that?
What is that?
I don't. You want to check?
Yeah, it's going on.
It's here.
Yeah.
Sounds like a radio.
Government Street, baby.
Yeah, it
Sounds like
crazy.
somebody had their windows
Might be
down,
next door.
driving by. Yeah.
All right, appreciate everybody for being here on this Thursday. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. We will be back with you tomorrow morning. Again, I will be out starting on Monday up until January 9th, so the crew will be holding it down, and appreciate everybody being here. As you're gearing up for New Year, make sure everybody stay safe. Have a happy New Year. Thanks for everybody interacting this morning, for being here. Hit a like button, share button, comment button. We're good.
Car was
We're
passing
good?
by, probably
Yeah.
just
All right.
windows down, swinging.
I mean, the weather turned good. Might as well put the windows down.
Yeah, right.
It was raining this morning, and I felt like it was going to be cold. And I hopped in the car. I was like, oh, it's just another nasty ass
muggy.
day.
Yeah.
But it's cleaning up.
All right, we'll be back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Have a great day.
I love you, Zion.
Miss you, Kate.
Miss you, Kay. Good luck.